Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel, EV, solar and kilowatts. Today I'm in our new Nissan Leaf 40 kilowatt and going to take a look at a range test. We took delivery of the car on the 4th of September and we've done very little with it since. We've been very busy about the house and bits and pieces. The car's had a couple of little drives out just locally to test the water with it. My wife's been out a couple of times as well, just sort of give it a drive. I'm really keen for her to look at this car as just a normal car. I don't want it to be too complicated and get involved in driving modes and this, that and the other. Not until she's sort of comfortable with it and finds it, just as usable and practical as a normal ICE car. I, on the other hand, like most guys, I suppose, quite techie, and I'm going to do a range test today. And to see what the real range is for my particular use on my particular journey to and from work, and hopefully just confirm my decision that the 40 kilowatt Leaf was the right vehicle for us in terms of cost, etc. So just to give you an idea, today is the 9th of September. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. It's a dull overcast day. It's about 11 degrees outside. It's dry. My route, I work at Gatwick Airport, or in the vicinity of, and I live in Sandhurst, Berkshire. The route's going to take me on the Blackwater Valley Relief Road for about a mile or so. It's then about 15 miles on the M3. It's about 25 miles on the M25, and then it's about 25, 30, 40, about 5 or 6 miles then down the M27. So in total it's I know my journey is 47 miles. So I mean, that normally takes me around about an hour. I'm going to be driving in battery mode, eco mode, and with the pedal. Not that the pedal's going to get much use on this journey, but that's the most economical mode according to Nissan. And I'll be using ProPilot as well. I don't drive fast. I typically drive around 60 miles an hour to 70 miles an hour on the motorway, so that's what I'll be doing today. But I will try and stick it around 60 because I know that's the most economical speed for the car. So this is it is the most economical drive that I think I could possibly do for my journey and my purposes on the motorway in terms of the modes I'm going to select. And I'm driving at the most economical speed, but that's how I would normally drive anyway. So I'm not trying to make this anything that it's not and artificially create some artificial figures. I'm going to drive the car in the way in which it's meant to be driven. It's no inconvenience to me, so it doesn't make any difference. And I'm not driving it deliberately slowly, because that's a speed that I would normally drive at anyway. So let's just see how we get on. So I'll check in a little later and we'll see how it all goes. Let's see. Before I go, I should also mention that the car is 100% charged and it's giving me a range of 164 miles. I know that the real world range is about 150. So my journey today of 47 miles there, 47 miles back, be 94 miles. This should be no problem for the car at all, and it should leave me when I get to work. I should have certainly I should have used about 30%, and then when I get back home I should have used 60%. So hopefully when I get back home today, all being well, I should have about 40% left in my battery. So let's take a look. Well, hi guys, we're about midway through the journey, just about to pass the Cobham services on the M25, and everything's going very well indeed. For those purists and safety campaigners amongst you, I'm hands-free. The phone is on a cradle, and I have both hands on the steering wheel, because if I didn't, the Leaf would start buzzing at me and telling me to put my hands on the steering wheel. So just to give you a bit of an update, we are let's say about halfway through our journey. I have to have a look at the tripometer. Let me just have a quick a look at that, so I won't get too involved in it whilst I'm driving. But at the moment we're showing an average of 5.4 miles per kilowatt hour, which I think, from looking at other people's videos, anything sort of around 4 is quite good. 5.3 is extremely good. I mean, that is hugely satisfying. Still showing on the Gesser meter of 155 miles, and 87% left in the battery, which is pretty good. Just looking on the map now, I've got 25 miles to go, so yeah, just less than halfway, I guess, and 28 minutes. I'm going to arrive at 8:12. There's been next to no traffic at all. It is rush hour, but there's not much of a rush at the moment during COVID, so the traffic has been moving quite freely. I've been almost exclusively on ProPilot, maintaining an average of 58 miles per hour. The lane keeping has been faultless throughout. Indications have been smooth. The lane keep comes off when you indicate, as you would expect. Once you're in lane, within a second or two, the front forward camera here, which tracks the lanes, picks up the white lines, and you're back in sort of semi-autonomous driving again. So that's been really, really good. The cruise control distance keeping element of the ProPilot has been superb again. Backing off to maintain the distance when necessary, or when a car pulls in front, the car backs off as you would expect, and then when the car vacates your lane, provided that there's enough space in front, or the space that you have designated on the steering wheel, it then will accelerate to maintain that gap again. So it's been absolutely brilliant, it really has. My only criticism of that system at the moment was so far is when you wish to pull out into a free lane because your lane's going too slowly, the distance keeping part of the cruise control is obviously decelerating you as that gap, to try and maintain that gap. As you pull into a free lane, it's a little bit slow to catch up. So as you're pulling into that lane, the car is still braking because it still senses the vehicle in which you're wishing to overtake. But the time it takes for it to realise there's now nothing in front, for me, is a little bit slow. And in the example I had earlier on, the car was approaching behind me in the free lane. I pulled out, plenty of space for him, and plenty of advanced warning and indicating, but the car continued to slow down while the lane was free. So of course, quite understandably, there was no gesticulation or anything like that. Quite understandably, if I were him, I would have expected not to keep decelerating. I would have expected to sort of put my foot down again to maintain forward speed, whereas the car slowed down, I think, too much. And quite rightly, he was probably thinking, well, what are you doing, man? Take your foot off the pedal, off the brake pedal, and get moving. You know that you're clear. You don't need to slow down. So there's a little bit of a lag when under deceleration going into a clear lane, but well, you still got your accelerator pedal, so you can always override that if you think it's not working, or as quickly as the conditions should allow. So yes, I don't think there's anything else I can talk about on the screen at the moment that's giving shedding any light. The Apple CarPlay has worked really nicely. It's very clear on the screen. What I have found though, when changing the volume on my music, because it's coming from the phone, there's a bit of a delay in the communication, so nothing was happening with the volume. So I turned it up thinking, what's going on, and then suddenly bang, all goodness knows how many Bose speakers and the subwoofer came alive, and I nearly blew the glass out of the car. Yes, hands on the steering wheel. So just be careful with that when you're using Apple CarPlay and you're using your own music, and in my case from Spotify. Just be careful with the volume control. Add a little bit weight and it'll come up. If anybody watching this knows how to get around that, please leave me a message. That would be fantastic. Yeah, so other than that, music, direction, the nav, because I'm not using the inbuilt car navigation, I'm not really getting anything on that screen. I'm obviously using Apple CarPlay for Google Maps, and my present economy there is great. Like I say, tyre pressures, blah blah blah, and then driver assistance settings. Don't really need to do anything with that. What I do need to find on here is my tripometer, and just to understand, all I've got is reset trip there, but I shall find that in a minute and see how many miles I've actually done on this journey. Good. Okay, well, I think that's really it now. I'll just be talking for the sake of talking. I'm going to have a little bit more tea. We've got 20 miles to go. I'm going to be there at 8:15 in the morning. I don't need to be there till 9, so I should have a few minutes to talk to you about how the journey has gone when I reach my destination. I'll see you then. Right, so just another update. I found the tripometer. It says trip reset here, but it's trip and reset if you hold it. So yeah, hands on the steering wheel, Cameron. 39 miles, 39.7 miles. I reset this about 2 miles into the trip because I didn't know where it was. And I've got, if I have a look at the sat nav, I've got 7 miles to go. That would say 47 on here, so well, maybe I wasn't that far off. So yeah, 48 miles actually to the sim centre. I've got 77% of my battery left, which is crazy. Telling me I've got 135 miles left in the electric tank. So that is bonkers, really. That is bonkers. I've been at 55 to 58 on the M23 now. It's a 50 limit, so I'm doing 55. But there are lots of people overtaking me. I'm not trying to justify my speed, but that's what I'm doing. And if I've got 7 miles to go, this could mean 128, assuming the GOM is correct. The GOM, by the way, in case you're wondering what that means, it's been nicknamed the guessometer, and I think this is a hangover from the older Leafs, because it really was wildly inaccurate from what I understand from watching other videos. But of course, it's only as clever as you drive it. So yeah, I mean, if you're driving super economically, like I am, then it's going to look at the history. It's going to look at how far you went on what level of charge remained, and it's going to make a calculation, a fairly simple calculation, I suspect, and it'll then give you a projection. And that's it. I think that's really all it can do. There might be some clever matrix in the newer models to assist with that, in terms of the rate in which it's being depleted, and sort of taking more of an average. But I suspect that if I drive home at 75 miles an hour, I won't have the guessometer won't be accurate. I could get to work, tells me I've got 130 miles left in the tank. I do say a 50-mile journey, should be 80. Well, I could end up getting home with like 40 left, because my driving style has changed. So I think that's it critically. As long as your driving style on average remains the same, you're either quite an economical driver, you're driving lots around town, then that should be fine. If you split that up then with a bit of motorway driving, then that's going to change the figures a little bit. And equally, if suddenly say your wife it has a bit of a heavy right foot. You're driving nice and I'm driving nice and economically on my motorway, and my wife is keen on Iron Maiden.
In 2 miles at junction 10, take the A264 exit to Crawley, Grinstead.
I will. And has a heavy right foot. Then of course what she sees on there is going to be wildly different to what she's actually going to get. My wife is not an Iron Maiden fan and drives even slower than I do, so I'll just use that as an example. Anyway, we're nearing work. I've got not much else to say, so I'll wrap it up when we arrive. Well, here we are, arrived at work. Trip says 47.2 miles. I think as I started this a couple of miles in, it's obviously a little bit further to this building where I'm working today than it is to Gatwick Airport. So there you go, 49 miles. And here's the incredible thing. I've still got 73% left in my battery. That's bonkers, really. So what did I use? 27% to do 49 miles? Oh, crikey. Well, if we said I used 25% to do 50, that's like, well, knocking on 200 miles, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's just broadly doing the maths there, but yeah, I don't think we're realistically going to get that. We'll have to see what happens when we drive home to see what the total cost in terms of battery usage was, but I think I was expecting to arrive with about 65%, so to arrive with 73, that makes me very happy indeed. The other interesting number here is that we used average 5.2 miles per kilowatt. Yeah, I think that's pretty good as well, isn't it? So very happy with that. Very happy that I found my trip-ometer and trip reset. Really happy with the Pro Pilot. That worked very nicely. Apart from, as I mentioned earlier on, the sort of changing into a free lane took a little while for it to sort of realise that it could actually go. But yeah, I'm at work and I think it's about time that I did some work. So I will leave you all in peace and check in with you later for the return journey. Okay, well, hi everyone. Here we are back in the car, and I have finished my day's work. It's no, it's not. It's 20 past 2 in the afternoon. Time to make my way home. So, just having a look at what we've got. I'll just flick. If I can flick this round, can I flick this round? I'm not too sure I can on video. No, perhaps I can't. So, anyway, I will just flip it around and show you. So that's where I am at the moment, 5.1 miles per kilowatt. Obviously, I'm not charging, and I've got 73% left on the battery. So hope you can see that. So it's 47.2 miles done. I've got another 48 miles to go home. I thought I'd be here with about 65%. I've actually got 73. So all things being equal, I may be able to get home with about 45% rather than about 30, which would save me some charging time, that's for sure. So let's see how we get on. Well, just a quick update. 81 miles into the trip. So 2/3 of the way home now, 15 miles to go in 23 minutes. There's a little bit of traffic, but generally speaking, I've been 55 to 58 miles an hour all the way home. The air conditioning has been on all the way. It was quite warm when I got in the car, and I've got 53% of my battery remaining. In terms of average energy economy, let's have a look. 5.1 miles per kilowatt. So that's pretty good, I think. Well, that's fantastic, actually. That means 5 miles per kilowatt, 40 kilowatt battery, 200 miles. I'm not naive enough to think I'm going to get 200 miles. But in terms of potential performance from what Nissan advertise as achievable range, and what the real well performance is advertised as 150 miles, I mean, that's sort of 3.5 miles per kilowatt and I'm seeing 5. So there's no problem with that at all. I think if you drive this car economically, but not silly economic. I mean, some people might be watching this video thinking 55, 60, 55, 58 miles an hour on a motorway, that's ridiculous. Well, you know, if you're going to drive at 70 miles an hour, I dare say you're going to have less range on your battery. For me, it's a comfortable speed, and it's the sort of speed 60 miles an hour, I would say, is probably what I would mostly drive at. So yes, I'm probably driving this a bit more economically, but that's why I've got the Nissan Leaf. That's why I've got an electric car, to try and drive as economically as possible, to get the best range, to charge my car up with solar, so it doesn't cost me anything. Having said that, 50 odd percent I'm at now, I'm going to get home with at least 40%. So yeah, I could afford to drive a little bit quicker, but you know, I'm quite comfortable at it, so there's no point really saying much more about it. Yeah, so we'll see what happens when I get home, but this is a comfortable drive to and from work. Actually, a lot of the motorway speeds with the M23 and most of the M3 is 50 miles an hour anyway, which is probably why I'm seemingly comfortable at 50, because I can't really go much faster than that anyway, by the look of things. Yeah, we'll see what happens when we get home, but yeah, all looking very positive at the moment. Okay, so stuck in a little bit of traffic, about 5 or 6 minutes according to Google Maps. This is just on the 331 going towards Blackwater and Camberley. There's roadworks here, it's down to 1 lane, so I just thought I'd spend a couple of minutes just giving you an update. One of the things I didn't talk about was battery temperature. You know, all this rapid gate, I think it's called, was all to do with how hot the battery was, and the hotter the battery, then the lower the amount of charge the battery would accept. Because of course, the faster and the harder you drive, or the longer you drive, the more energy you're drawing from the battery. That generates heat, and of course, the less efficient the battery is, and so the less accepting it is of a larger charge. So people were charging, you know, plugging themselves into an ecotricity, for example, 50 kilowatts. It started at sort of 40, 30, battery got hot and it went down to sort of 20 or 15. So, you know, you're paying for a fast charge there and you're not really getting it. So, you know, obviously people are getting a bit upset about that. But looking at my battery at the moment, I don't have leaf spy, so I don't know what the exact temperature is in terms of degrees Celsius, in terms of numeric number, but I can tell you outside ambient temperature 24 degrees. I'm about 40 odd miles into my journey, having done a 58 miles an hour average, and my battery temperature is sort of 50%. So I don't think that's anywhere near a problem for charging at a fast charge. So another reason again for driving sensibly, that, you know, if you do drive sensibly, then there's every chance. So I'm going to try and find myself a little gap here. There's every chance you protect the power of your battery, the temperature of your battery, and so you're then able to charge at those sort of faster rates, I guess. If you are driving at sort of 70 odd miles an hour plus, then, you know, there is a risk. And I don't think the extra speed really is warranted, given the extra time you're going to spend at a standstill at a charging station, or at a service station. So anyway, there you go. 50% battery. I'm 50% battery temperature. I'm at 45% of charge, and I'm still hovering at 5 miles per kilowatt hour. So there you go, there's the update. Only a few miles until I get home. This guy's not paying any attention, so he can't have my space. I will give you an update as I pull into the drive. I've just noticed it's quite sunny, and I had a look at my energy app, and I'm getting lots of kilowatts. So even though it's coming on to 3:30 in the afternoon in September, I should be able to plug in and get some free electricity to charge the car up a little bit, and then I'm probably gonna have to drive to Tesco's, drop my wife off at work, and then plug into their 7 kilowatt charger there. Probably have a mooch around the shops. I might get a couple of hours in there before resuming a sort of a charge beyond midnight to top me back up to. I don't think I'm going to need 100%, bearing in mind what I've got away with today. If I drive the same way tomorrow, I think if I charge a car up to 80%, I mean, I'm going to have loads really, without having sort of range anxiety. Anyway, not much else to say. Get through this traffic, and I'll give you the full lowdown when I get home. Well, I've arrived at home, and there we are, 44% of the battery left, which is about, I think, 10% better than I thought I was going to get. Let me just, well, I can't flick the camera around, can I? I've got to stop the video and then do another one. So just 5 miles per kilowatt. I'll show you this in a second, which is insane, really. 55 to 58 miles per hour, 95.6 miles complete. No, sorry, 95.6 miles complete. I thought it was about 95, I think it was. So yeah, a little bit out. 85 miles left in the tank. Yeah, superb. Driving with battery mode and eco and e-pedal. Not that e-pedals use that much apart from the traffic which I've just been in. So there we go. I'll take some photos and add those onto the end of the video, and a really successful range test, and I'm just blown away. Actually, this 40 kilowatt Leaf is the range is insane. So super happy.